Just like every creature blessed with a sense of taste, she loves delicious food, not only making and savoring it, but sharing it as well. It does not matter whether it is someone from another world or someone who openly dislikes her. In front of delicious food, everyone is equal in her eyes. The female protagonist calls out that the food is ready, her voice warm and inviting. Back in the present, however, she feels that something is off at home. There is a subtle unease she cannot quite explain. Her friend asks what she means, and she explains that things feel slightly out of place. The remote that should be resting on the couch ends up on the floor, and a chair that had been neatly tucked in is now slightly pulled out. She lives alone and is the only one who arranges things, so the inconsistency troubles her. Her friend suggests, half-jokingly yet with a hint of seriousness, that perhaps there is a ghost in the house. It could be a vengeful spirit holding a grudge against her, or perhaps the place itself is haunted. The female protagonist insists that she has lived here peacefully until now, but her friend presses further, wondering if she might have unknowingly touched a cursed object while passing by somewhere. The attempt to scare her only makes her uneasy, and she questions whether her friend is truly serious. Suddenly, the two of them hear a sound. It is faint but unmistakable. They look around, only to realize that there is no one there. Her friend becomes visibly frightened, asking whether what they are experiencing is real. The female protagonist admits that she has never encountered anything like this before, but she insists that they should check, no matter how unsettling it may seem. Her friend hesitates, worried about the possibility of a real ghost, yet the protagonist moves forward and opens the door. The two cautiously peek outside, but everything appears normal. There is nothing unusual, nothing out of place. Relief washes over them, and they conclude that perhaps they had simply drunk too much and let their imaginations run wild. Afterward, her friend announces that she is heading home. The female protagonist reminds her to be careful on her way back, though internally she feels a growing sense of dizziness. She wonders if she has had too much to drink. Her gaze drifts toward the table, cluttered with the remnants of their meal, and she considers when she should clean it up. It seems better to tidy things now rather than leave them for later. Before she can act on that thought, she suddenly trips. The ground rushes toward her, but before she can hit it, someone catches her. Strong arms steady her fall. Startled and disoriented, she asks who he is, wondering if this is some kind of dream. The man standing before her is astonishingly handsome. His features are unfamiliar, not distinctly Western, yet carrying an exotic and almost otherworldly aura. His golden eyes gleam faintly, and his clothing resembles something taken straight out of a fantasy game. In her dazed state, she wonders if he is a fairy. He looks at her with confusion, unable to comprehend her words, while she thanks him for saving her from falling. Her voice grows softer as exhaustion overtakes her, and she drifts into sleep almost immediately. The man looks around the room, taking in his unfamiliar surroundings. After a moment, he notices the sofa and carefully carries her over to it, laying her down gently. Even as she sleeps, she murmurs her gratitude, calling him a kind fairy. The next morning, she wakes with a heavy head. A vague memory lingers of a handsome man helping her and placing her somewhere safe. She assumes it must have been a strange and vivid dream. After all, someone like that could not possibly exist in real life. However, as she opens her eyes fully, she sees him standing right in front of her. Shock surges through her, and she reacts instinctively, startled by his presence. Questions flood her mind all at once: who he is, how he got into her house, and why he is there. Yet as she stares at his face, a sense of familiarity settles in. It is the same face she saw in her dream. A realization begins to form, unsettling and impossible. The man from her dream is standing in front of her, real and undeniable. She wonders who this man is, how he managed to enter her house, and what exactly is wrong with his appearance. His eyes glow just a little too brightly, enough to make her uneasy. The thought that she had treated someone like him as a harmless, friendly fairy the night before makes her inwardly cringe. Alcohol truly is frightening, she thinks, to have dulled her judgment so much. Then she notices the sword at his side, real, sharp, and unmistakably dangerous. Her gaze shifts, and she realizes there are two more strapped to his legs. A chill runs through her. He has been watching her like this since last night. The situation finally settles in her mind with alarming clarity, and she knows she should call the police immediately. Before she can act, the man speaks, his voice breaking the silence. Startled, she instinctively shouts at him to stay back. He pauses, clearly confused by her reaction, as if unable to understand her fear. In that tense moment, an unexpected sound interrupts everything: the loud, unmistakable growl of his stomach. It echoes almost like distant thunder in the quiet room. She blinks, caught off guard. Looking at him more carefully now, he seems less threatening and more pitiful. Despite his weapons and strange presence, he does not appear like someone who intends to harm her. There is something almost helpless in the way he stands there. After a moment of hesitation, she gathers herself and cautiously asks if he would like something to eat. Her voice is still guarded, but softer now. She tells him to wait for a bit and assures him that she will prepare something soon. Judging by the sound of his stomach, he must be starving. Since it is morning, she decides it would be best to make something light. Her own stomach still feels unsettled from the lingering effects of alcohol, and as she looks through the ingredients, she considers what would be suitable. After a brief moment of thought, an idea comes to her. For an upset stomach, nothing is better than a gentle egg porridge. The ingredients are simple, just rice and egg will do. If there are leftover vegetables, she can add those as well for a bit of flavor and nutrition. She begins by washing the rice thoroughly, letting the water run clear before allowing it to soak. Cooked rice could have been used, but since she is making it fresh, she decides to let it soak properly before cooking it in a pot. While the rice soaks, she finally chops the vegetables, her hands moving with practiced ease. Once that is done, she heats the pot and brings the rice to a boil. In a separate pan, she lightly sautés the chopped vegetables until they soften, releasing a gentle aroma. She then adds them into the boiling pot, stirring continuously to ensure nothing sticks to the bottom. As the mixture cooks, she cracks in an egg and stirs quickly, making sure it blends smoothly without clumping. A pinch of salt is added to taste, and she continues stirring until the porridge thickens into a comforting consistency. It needs only a little more time to simmer before it is ready. As she focuses on cooking, a thought crosses her mind. She realizes that she knows absolutely nothing about the man standing in her home. She finally asks who exactly he is and how he ended up inside her house. The man responds with calm seriousness, explaining that he does not belong to this world. He introduces himself as Nemo, a servant from the Forest of the Sun. His tone is so composed and unwavering that it makes the female protagonist question why he sounds so earnest. Nemo continues, stating that he arrived in her world through the shoe cabinet, as if such a thing is entirely natural. This strange explanation leads her to wonder what exactly the Forest of the Sun is. Nemo elaborates that it is a gathering of individuals who dedicate their lives to the glory of the world. His words carry a weight that leaves her momentarily taken aback. Despite this, she cannot bring herself to fully believe that he is entirely sane. Turning away slightly, she remarks that he speaks their language quite well. Nemo explains that this is due to the blessing of the god of flow. However, he adds that the effect will not last long, and only while the blessing remains within him will they be able to communicate. His explanation makes her think that, despite how bizarre his story sounds, his world building is unexpectedly solid. Still, she presses on and asks why he came specifically to her house. Nemo begins to explain that he requires her cooperation and that his purpose for coming here is important. However, before he can finish, his stomach suddenly growls loudly, interrupting the moment. It becomes clear that he must be extremely hungry. Seeing this, she decides that whatever he has to say can wait. She tells him that they should eat first, as she has just finished cooking. As someone who takes pride in her skills, she cannot allow anyone to go hungry. She prepares a simple yet appealing meal, placing a bowl topped with sesame seeds and seaweed flakes before him, along with a small side dish for variety. She invites him to eat before the food gets cold. Nemo obediently steps forward and takes a bite. His reaction, however, is rather unusual. She notices his expression and wonders what is wrong. He comments that the food is surprisingly firm, which prompts her to hand him some water while he continues eating. As he does, she asks how it tastes, wondering if it is acceptable. Nemo responds that he has never eaten anything so delicious in his life. Though his words sound somewhat dramatic, she finds it pleasant to see him eating so wholeheartedly. Eventually, he finishes the meal and expresses his gratitude, stating that he will never forget her kindness. The female protagonist brushes it off, saying that it is not such a big deal, and that as long as he enjoyed it, that is enough for her. Nemo then returns to the matter he had been trying to explain earlier. He reiterates that he is Nemo, a servant of the sun, connected to words of destruction, and that he needs her help. He earnestly asks her to come with him and assist in saving their world. In response, the female protagonist simply smiles at him. Instead of addressing his request directly, she asks once again if the food was good. Nemo confirms that it was truly delicious, though he cannot understand why she is asking again. Her smile remains unchanged, calm yet firm, as she gently tells him to leave her house. This response takes him slightly aback. He insists that if she refuses to go with him, an entire world will perish. However, she stands up with a dismissive air, brushing off his warning and telling him that since he has finished eating, he should leave. Nemo persists, suggesting that perhaps his explanation was insufficient, but she cuts him off midway, stating that it was more than enough and that she does not wish to hear anything further. Without giving him another chance to speak, she grabs his hand and declares that she will show him the way out. Even then, he continues to plead, saying that if it is a matter of trust, he is willing to work harder to earn it. He earnestly begs her, insisting that they truly need her help. The intensity in his gaze unsettles her, prompting her to think firmly to herself that there is absolutely no way she is getting involved. No matter how handsome he may be, the man is clearly unhinged, and getting entangled with him can only lead to trouble. With that conclusion in mind, she pushes him out and tells him to go bother someone else before finally closing the door. Even after shutting him out, she cannot help but feel a trace of irritation, wondering if it would have been so difficult for him to simply leave when she asked him to. Soon, however, her thoughts shift to confusion as she notices the unusual silence. There are no footsteps, no indication that he has walked away. She hesitates, wondering if he might still be standing outside. Even so, she reminds herself to pull it together. There is no way she is going to open that door again or get involved with someone so strange. Determined, she tries to focus on her work. Yet, as time passes, her curiosity continues to gnaw at her. After 5 hours, she finds herself glancing toward the door again, realizing that the silence has persisted the entire time. The thought crosses her mind that he might still be there. Unable to ignore it any longer, she decides that it would be better to check and put her mind at ease. When she finally opens the door, she is met with a shocking sight. Nemo is still there, sitting outside in the freezing cold. She stares at him in disbelief, struggling to comprehend that he has truly been waiting there for 5 hours in such harsh weather. The realization unsettles her. Leaving someone outside in the middle of winter for that long feels undeniably wrong. Relenting, she tells him to come inside already. Once he is finally inside, she questions what he was thinking, sitting out there in such cold conditions. Nemo simply replies that she had told him to leave. His straightforward answer leaves her momentarily speechless. She then asks why he did not just return to his own world or wherever he came from. In response, he glances towards something, drawing her attention. She follows his gaze and notices that he is looking at the shoe cabinet. This causes her to pause and reconsider everything. Now that she thinks about it, he did claim to be from another world, and he truly did appear out of nowhere. The possibility that he might have been telling the truth begins to take root in her mind. Pushing those thoughts aside for the moment, she tells him to drink something warm to help his body recover. She prepares honey milk, warming it gently so it can help ease the cold. Nemo drinks it and visibly feels relieved, which makes her quietly wonder if he simply has an unusual fondness for food. Still, she reminds herself that this changes nothing. Once he finishes, she tells him that he should leave. Nemo makes one last attempt, asking if she would consider his request again. However, she refuses firmly, stating that even if his story were true, she has her own life to live. It is not something she can abandon on a whim, and he should find someone else. Nemo then explains that this is not possible. Because he is from another world, he can only communicate with the first intelligent life form he encountered here. Therefore, he asks her once more to reconsider. As he speaks, he utters a strange name directed at her, something unfamiliar and puzzling. Confused, she asks what he just said. Before she can get a proper answer, he suddenly stands up. She calls out to him, but he moves quickly and opens the shoe cabinet. As she looks inside, she calls out again, asking if he is there, but there is no response. The cabinet is empty. She stares at it in stunned silence, her thoughts racing. The realization settles in slowly but surely. He truly came from another world, appearing and disappearing through something as ordinary as her shoe cabinet. She questions whether the shoe cabinet in her house could somehow be a portal to another world. No matter how closely she inspects it, it remains completely empty. At last, she closes the door and decides to ignore it for now. She has witnessed many strange things in her life, yet this unsettles her in a way she cannot quite explain. As she moves, she notices the man emerging again, which makes her wonder if what she saw before was truly real. Soon, the two of them are finally seated. She brings up how suddenly he disappeared earlier, admitting that he frightened her. Nemo apologizes and explains that the language spell had worn off, leaving him no choice but to cast the magic again. She questions what he means, and he clarifies that it is a spell that automatically translates his words into her language. When she thinks about it, she realizes that his lip movements do not match the words she hears at all. The sensation is like watching a poorly dubbed foreign movie. Even so, she considers his claims. She tells herself that, for the sake of argument, she could accept everything he has said about another world and its destruction as true. Yet even if she believes him, she cannot see any reason why she should cross over and save his world. She firmly concludes that she has no intention of going with him and tries to put an end to the discussion. Nemo, however, insists that he has received an order regarding this matter. This makes her pause and wonder what kind of order he could possibly mean. He explains that the prophets of the Forest of the Sun have commanded him to remain by her side and assist her with anything until she is willing to save their world. According to him, faith requires time, and therefore he will obey whatever she asks of him. This declaration frustrates her, and she protests that he is not some kind of trial service for her convenience. She cannot understand what he is trying to say, nor does she need such help. She is perfectly capable of taking care of herself. Despite her objections, he remains resolute, explaining that he cannot return until he has earned her trust. This only makes her more exasperated. She demands to know what makes him think she would allow him to stay in her home. He responds with quiet determination, stating that he will do his best to earn her trust and earnestly begs her for the chance. She realizes that if she forces him out again, he will likely wait outside for hours just as he did before. There is nothing stopping him from repeating that behavior. The thought leaves her internally screaming in frustration. In the end, she relents slightly, telling him that it is cold outside. While she will not order him to leave for now, she warns him that once the weather grows warmer, she will not be so lenient and will throw him out without hesitation. She makes sure he understands this clearly. The scene shifts to the female protagonist, who is left completely drained by the entire ordeal. She is utterly exhausted, having not slept a single moment because she spent the entire night worrying about him. When morning comes, she opens her door and finds him already seated, which makes her wonder what he could possibly be eating so early. As she looks closer, she suddenly shouts and snatches the object from his hands, demanding to know why he is eating something like that. He calmly explains that it is gel, the only food he is permitted to consume. He describes it as cold, hard, and resembling dried clay. She stares at it in disbelief and asks if he truly eats it just like that, without cooking it. He confirms that he does. Curious despite herself, she asks if she can try some, and he tells her she may have as much as she likes. She cannot believe he is calling this substance food, yet a small part of her wonders if appearances might be deceiving. Perhaps it looks terrible but tastes decent. However, the moment she takes a single bite, all such thoughts vanish. The taste is nothing but salty, chalky dust, like plaster. She cannot help but wonder if his world is truly in such a dire state that this is all they have to eat. Is it really that serious? At last, she stands and firmly orders him to stop eating it. She declares that she will show him what real food is. Aside from the simple porridge she made before, this might be his first proper meal. In that case, she decides that strong flavors might overwhelm him, so she settles on something simple using ingredients she already has at home. After a moment of thought, she comes up with an idea and decides to prepare a traditional French quiche. The ingredients are simple pre-made dough, vegetables, eggs, and cheese. It might not be enough for a man with his appetite, so she also takes out some frozen salt bread dough. Fortunately, she already has some dough prepared. She begins by chopping the vegetables, meat, and cheese into small pieces. She places the chopped ingredients into a bowl, then beats the eggs and mixes everything together thoroughly. Next, she rolls out the pre-made dough into a baking tin and pokes small air holes into it with a fork. She pours in the filling, and it is ready to go into the oven. She places both the quiche and the salt bread dough into a preheated oven to bake. While they cook, she prepares a simple salad. She fries some bacon until crisp, chops it into small pieces, and adds it to the salad. For the dressing, she chooses a sweet and tangy Oriental-style sauce. Soon, the meal is complete: a freshly baked quiche, golden salt bread, and a salad topped with crispy bacon bits, accompanied by apricot jam and apple juice. She tells him to eat and assures him that he does not need to be shy. He should simply go ahead and try it. At last, Nemo takes a bite, and his reaction is immediate. He is visibly delighted. Watching him eat so happily brings her an unexpected sense of satisfaction. For a fleeting moment, she thinks that if he were to make that same expression while asking her to go with him again, she might actually agree. But she quickly pulls herself back, firmly reminding herself that there is no way she can allow that to happen. She needs to get a grip. No matter what, she absolutely cannot give in. She sprinkles some nuts on top of the ice cream at Sweet Naughty, and the added texture gives it a pleasant crunch. Curious and slightly amused, she asks him to try it as well, thinking that if they have already eaten, they might as well have dessert. As she watches him, she notices how he relaxes only slightly, still uneasy around unfamiliar food. It strikes her as odd, almost as if he has never eaten anything beyond that chalky substance his entire life. She finds herself wondering how that could be possible. Could it be that they somehow learned her preferences and catered only to them all this time? The thought lingers as she questions what kind of world he could possibly come from. Clearing her throat, she shifts the topic and asks whether he could explain a bit about his work. He responds that he is merely a servant and does not know much, though he promises to do his best to answer her question. After a moment, he asks if she has anything he can use to draw. She tells him to wait briefly and then provides what he needs. He begins to sketch, explaining that his world exists in a dimension much lower and lighter than theirs. If he were to illustrate it, he describes it as layers, with their world occupying an inner part identified as the third dimension, while his own lies further outward. He explains that there has not been much research on dimensions, but fundamentally, the closer one gets to the center, the heavier the dimension becomes, and the soul grows heavier and more restrained. As a result, belief in magic, mana, miracles, and even divine forces diminishes. For him, a world without magic is difficult to imagine, and so he wonders whether this world truly lacks it. She acknowledges that it does, though she demonstrates some understanding of the concept. She explains that she has encountered magic only in fairy tales and fantasy movies during her childhood. In contrast, he describes that in his dimension, the mind is not entirely bound by the soul. Emotions manifest tangibly. Rage can ignite flames, and hatred can take the form of curses. Such phenomena are not unusual there. In fact, he recounts that the most tragic event in his world was caused by a powerful magician named Bertha, who exacted her revenge upon an emperor. This act, known as the Contract of Hatred, became the greatest catastrophe their world has ever faced. She grows more intrigued and wonders what exactly the Contract of Hatred entails. He explains that there exists a region called the Boundary of Desolation. It was once the land of the most powerful empire in the East, but when that empire fell into decline due to the Contract of Hatred, a barrier was erected to seal it off. Beneath that barrier lies a catastrophic entity known as Niger Dioverta. The name, he clarifies, refers to the demons that were summoned by the catastrophe itself. She questions whether he has ever had to confront such demons. He responds by mentioning the prophets, who have foreseen a future event, the collapse of the Boundary of Desolation. According to their visions, a powerful being from another world will emerge as salvation itself. Though the prophecy reveals only a brief glimpse of what is to come, the prophets interpret the collapse of the boundary as a harbinger of demons, signaling a looming disaster that threatens everything. She says that she understands and thanks him for telling her, then wonders aloud whether she looks like that powerful being to him. She questions, almost half curiously, whether crossing over into his world would grant her some kind of great power. He remains quiet for a while before replying that he is merely a servant and does not know much, that he is simply following orders. There is no certainty in his answer, only vague and distant responses that offer her little clarity. She shifts the topic and points out that he mentioned managing an empire earlier, concluding that there must be countries in his world as well. She asks which nation his group belongs to. He replies that the Forest of the Sun serves no king and that they move only for the glory of the world. His answer leaves her confused, and inwardly she reacts with frustration, wondering what that statement is even supposed to mean. She cannot make sense of it, and the ambiguity lingers in her thoughts. For days pass since his arrival, and during that time he repeatedly asks whether there is anything he can help with. Each time, she tells him that it is fine and that he can simply sit on the couch and wait, perhaps watch some television before the movie starts. Her reasoning is not only to interfere with Nemo's supposed goal of taking her away but also influenced by an earlier incident. He had broken a plate, and when she asked whether he was hurt or alright, he had reacted with overwhelming panic. He trembled, cried, and apologized repeatedly, terrified over the fact that he had broken something she had trusted him with. His reaction had been so intense that it unsettled her, making her wonder what kind of experiences in his world could cause such fear over a simple accident. She quickly dismisses the thought, telling herself not to overthink it. After all, he will leave once everything is over. She decides instead to focus on what she needs to do. While popcorn is a classic movie snack, she considers making rusks instead. She gathers the ingredients: frozen bread scraps, butter, sugar, and optional additions such as minced garlic, parsley, or cinnamon powder. She melts the butter in the microwave for 30 seconds, then stirs in the sugar until the mixture is well combined. She lines a baking tray with baking paper, arranges the thawed bread, and coats each piece evenly with the butter mixture. She bakes them at 180 degrees Celsius for about 10 minutes, then cuts them into bite-sized pieces and sprinkles cinnamon powder over the top. The simple cinnamon rusks are complete. She calls out to him as she brings the plate over, her mind drifting back to everything she has researched over the past few days: dimensional travel, summoning, interdimensional magic, and worlds beyond her own. She had searched for anything resembling her current situation, hoping to find similar experiences, but nothing concrete had appeared. Instead, She had come across countless novels and movies with similar themes, much like the one they are watching now. She had asked Nemo about the similarities between his world and hers, but eventually they had both become absorbed in the film. Watching his reactions had been unexpectedly entertaining. Still, she knows this situation cannot last forever. He is here for a reason, and she remains skeptical of that reason. Though she has grown somewhat fond of him, it is largely out of pity and curiosity. He appears passive, someone who simply obeys the prophets without question. She feels sympathy for him, yet she cannot bring herself to fully trust someone like that. One day, Nemo returns to his world to receive another translation spell or perhaps some form of blessing. While he is gone, she considers preparing late-night snacks and even getting ingredients ready for the next day. As she moves about, she suddenly hears a sound and wonders whether he has returned. She gets up and remarks that it took him a bit longer this time, noting that the previous occasion had not taken so long. But as she sees him, her composure shatters. She is struck with shock as she stares at him, questioning what those wounds on his body could possibly be. She asks him what exactly happened, her voice edged with concern as she takes in the state he is in. He replies that it does not hurt as much as it looks, but she immediately insists that he should not say something so ridiculous. There is no way wounds like that do not hurt, and she cannot accept such a dismissive answer. Her mind races as she tries to understand how he could have ended up like this. A sudden thought crosses her mind, and she hesitates before asking if it could be because he ate her cooking. The silence that follows is enough for her to realize the truth. That is indeed the reason. He then explains that he was simply punished according to the law and that he suffered no real disadvantage. Her frustration bursts out as she demands to know why he did not tell her when she served him the food, rather than allowing himself to be hurt like this. He responds calmly that compared to exile or execution, this punishment is nothing. His words make her scoff in disbelief as she questions whether he is truly serious. She presses further, asking if the others in his world also survive on nothing but gel. He confirms that they do, explaining that servants are only allowed to consume gel, a substance created by the prophets to prevent desires that would be considered unbefitting of their status. In essence, their choices are stripped away so that they can focus entirely on serving the prophets. As she processes this, she notices a slight twitch in him. He quickly turns to her and clarifies that speaking this way was not his intention. This makes her question what his intentions actually are. She continues, pointing out that it cannot be limited to food alone. Surely all forms of enjoyment are forbidden. Music, dance, travel, even dreaming, are they all restricted? She asks if there is truly nothing he wants for himself. He answers that he wishes to dedicate himself to the glory of the world. Unsatisfied, she asks him one simple question, whether he is happy right now. He rises slowly and admits that he does not think he is, but there is something he likes. He explains that the food she makes for him has become something he cherishes, and that eating it has become his source of happiness. She looks at him quietly and tells him that she is glad he has found something he loves. Then she suggests, almost gently, that perhaps he should simply not tell the others that he has eaten her food. However, he replies that he cannot do that. A powerful truth and obedience spell binds him, making it impossible for him to lie. She asks if that means he will stop eating her food and return to consuming only gel, but he says no. In that case, he will simply continue to receive punishment. Although he admits that he likes her cooking, she finds that she cannot feel happy about it. The situation weighs too heavily on her. Realizing how late it has become, she says that they should leave the discussion for tomorrow and get some sleep. The night passes, but rest does not come easily to her. The next morning, she wakes up unrest, her thoughts still tangled with everything that had happened the day before. She cannot allow him to skip breakfast. Lately, they have been eating mostly Western food, so she considers that perhaps today she will prepare something Japanese instead. Even then, she worries it might still be too strong for him. In the end, she settles on something simple, just tamagoyaki and sausages should be enough. She tells him that the food will be ready soon and asks him to wait a little. If he gets bored, she suggests that he can watch some television in the meantime. He shows a bit of reluctance, lingering in place rather than moving toward the TV. After a moment, he finally asks whether she has any family. The question catches her off guard, and she wonders why he would suddenly ask something like that. He explains that the prophets told him that if she had a family, perhaps she would not have come into this world. They had also insisted that even though no one seems to be watching him in this house, he should still confirm it himself. That is why he asks again if she has any family. She answers that she once had a grandmother, but she passed away last year on a rainy day. Her grandmother had found her abandoned by the roadside when she was just a child. She had been an orphan, and that grandmother became her only family, her only guardian. She considers herself fortunate to have met someone so kind. Nemo then shares that he too was taken and adopted into the forest of the sun. He believes that if the prophets had not found him, he would have become wolf food out in the wasteland. She listens carefully before asking him whether he truly believes that was luck. He responds without hesitation that it was the greatest fortune he will ever have in his life. However, she cannot agree. Even if it felt like luck to him, she insists that what they do is still wrong. She cannot accept a group that enforces its rules through violence, beating someone until their back is shattered simply for breaking them. To her, such people cannot be called good. She then corrects him firmly. Her name is not Savior. It is Yujong. She tells him that she cannot save his world, but she genuinely wants to help him. Because of that, she asks if he can stay here instead. He replies that it is not possible. She tries to persuade him, but when she sees the expression on his face, she stops. With a quiet sigh, she admits that she understands. She had never planned to go to his world, and he had never planned to remain in hers. Since that is the case, there is no reason for him to stay any longer. She asks him, gently, to return to his original world. He looks at her for a long moment. Then, with sincerity, he acknowledges her kindness. He recognizes how she cared for him, made food for him, and showed him what happiness feels like. He realizes that he has never been able to express such feelings before, but now, as he prepares to leave, he finally does. He offers her his heartfelt thanks. When she gets frustrated, she bakes cookies. It has been 4 days since Nemo left. Normally, he comes right back and wanders around, looking for something to help with. If only her heart could be completely blank like this cream. She wonders whether that was really his final goodbye. She wonders if it was really okay to let him go just like that. Maybe he has been treated badly again because he did not take her with him, but again, there is no point in overthinking. It will not change anything. All these unnecessary feelings of guilt suddenly disappear. Suddenly, her phone rings. She wonders who it could be. It is a message telling her that the construction is taking longer. It looks like she will need to take an additional 2 days off. She already took a whole week off because of the renovations, and now 2 more days. It looks like her break just got longer again. At times like this, sweet cookies are the best. The sweet smell is the only thing that can save her now. Someone rings the bell. It is Mizuki. Mizuki says that it is super cold outside. Yujong tells her that she gave her the code for the auto lock, did she not? She could have just opened it and come in. Mizuki replies that she forgot it, but the smell are these all cookies. Yujong confirms to her that it is correct, as expected of her. Mizuki asks her to give her cookies since she has not eaten anything. Today's special menu is these cookies. Mizuki eats, and this makes her feel alive again. She finally asks Yujong what is wrong and whether she is really trying to hide it from her. That sweet smell was wafting all the way outside, and whenever she is troubled, she always starts baking cookies. Yujong tells her that she just suddenly felt like baking, that is all. Anyway, she asks Mizuki what she would do if someone from another world asked her to save their life or world. This makes Mizuki question whether she watched some fantasy movie. Yujong replies that it is just something like that. When Mizuki tells her that if she went to another world, what is in it for her, Yujong insists that that is not true, but they told her that if she just goes, she could sail the world. Mizuki replies that there is no way she would go. She just survived exam hell, so why would she go out of her way? She thinks about her family and friends, plus she is job hunting. Unless they are offering a fortune, she counts herself out. This makes Yujong think that she is super realistic. When Mizuki tells her to think about it, she wonders whether they are going to build her a high-end restaurant in the middle of the city. No, right. Anyway, if there is none of that going on, then thank goodness. Yujong thinks that maybe it is because she talked to someone after a long time, but it feels like she is suddenly pulled back to reality. Her friend gets up and asks if she can take some cookies home. After all, her cookies are the best. Yujong tells her friend sure, internally thinking that she really does need to face reality properly. They will start again in 2 days. If she just focuses on work without thinking too much, she will not have time for unnecessary thoughts, and she will be fine for sure. 2 days later, she is seen standing in front of some ruins. She wonders what this is, where the restaurant is, and why there is nothing but rubble. Finally, she asks someone and asks whether the restaurant called Shun No Man's Eye was supposed to be here. The man informs her that, unfortunately, it went out of business about a week ago. They heard that the owner skipped town in the middle of the night. Maybe he was in debt. A bunch of people stormed in during the night, and it was total chaos. The food was too good, and it was indeed a shame. Still, in a daze, she goes to the place to hear more. It turns out the owner committed massive fraud. Even her retirement pay means nothing compared to what he has taken. Other staff members also come by, and all they can do is register as victims and be done with it. She is tired, and she cannot even move. What on earth is happening? It feels like something she had been holding and just snaps. She needs to start looking for a new job, but she just cannot bring herself to care. Just at that time, she remembers Nemo's words that he needs her strength and questions whether she will help him save this world. She looks at the cabinet. She knows this probably is not a wise decision. She realizes this is an impulsive and foolish move, but if there has ever been a turning point in her life, maybe it is now. When she goes to that world, she wonders what she should say first, something like she came to save the world, and what she should say first. More importantly, she has to find Nemo first. If he knows she came, she is sure that he will be happy. Finally, she enters the cabinet, and when she opens her eyes, she wonders where she is. It is pitch black, and she cannot see anything. Was there not supposed to be another world once she stepped into the shoe closet? Suddenly, she hears some sound of waves, which covers her hole. She shouts for someone to help. Finally, a beach is seen, and she is lying there on the shore. She twitches, and finally she opens her eyes. She looks at the ocean and wonders where she is. She thinks that this is the other world, yet all she can see is the ocean, so maybe this is not another world. Maybe she has just ended up lost somewhere overseas. None of the Isekai novels she read online ever had anything like this. She wonders if this is not the part where someone notices the protagonist and saves them, so she starts to shout, asking if anyone is there to save the world, but there is no response. She wonders what the hell she should do. This might be seriously bad. There is not even a hint of anyone nearby, which makes her wonder if she was too reckless. She thinks that she should have thought this through more, but again she remains determined, thinking that it will be okay. Maybe it is just this beach that is empty, and if she heads further, she might find someone. After leaving the beach, she finds a thick forest full of grasses, but more than that, she is really thirsty. If there is that much grass, there must be some water nearby. She thinks that there is still time before the sun sets, so she continues to walk, and just as she thought, there is no doubt about it, there is water. She goes and drinks the water, but it is super salty, which makes her wonder if seawater is flowing into the forest. If so, then there is no drinkable water in this whole area. But again, she knows it is still too early to give up. Maybe there is a village nearby. If she is lucky, maybe they will give her water and even help her out, so she continues to walk. If she can reach a higher place and look around, surely she might see something, but there is not even a single rooftop in sight, let alone a village. Even from this height, all she can see is the coastline surrounding a small island. Having no other option, she collapses on the ground. In other words, this is an uninhabited island. She starts to cry, wondering what she should do. Was coming here a mistake? No one said the other world would be a deserted island, and she refuses to believe that Nemo tricked her. Finally, she notices something. It is fresh grapes. She thinks that maybe because she ate something, she feels a bit calmer now. She was lucky to find those berries. Either way, she cannot just sit around waiting for help on this empty island. She does not even know if a rescue team exists in this world, and even if they do, by the time they get here, she might be on the verge of death, or maybe she already beat that stage. Even if she wanted to escape on her own, she has no tools. Building a raft will take at least a few months, maybe even years, not to mention that she does not even know where to go, because around her there is only endless ocean. Still, it is better than doing nothing. In the end, she decides to build a raft while waiting for help. First, she needs to secure food, water, and shelter. Thanks to the berries, she manages to satisfy her hunger. Since she feels fine, they probably are not poisonous. After that, she wonders what the next most important thing is, and she realizes that it is fire. If she can make fire and boil water, she can get clean drinking water, and it will keep her warm two birds with one stone. So she starts to make a fire. Finally, she does it, and now she just has to gently blow on it to make it stronger. With that, she begins to blow on it, and the fire starts to grow. This makes her super happy about her success, but at that moment, rain starts to pour, and her poor fire is all in vain. This makes her super pissed because she finally manages to make fire, and it goes out this easily. There were not even any rain clouds a minute ago. As she looks up to curse the rain, she notices something, and she starts to drink the water. It is not salty at all. This is real water. After drinking, her head clears up, and she starts to calm down vaguely, but she thinks she knows what she should do now. First, before the rain stops, she needs to make a container with leaves to collect the rainwater, because in survival, clean drinking water is the most important thing. If she falls asleep in the disdain, it could be the end, so she needs to stay up and keep working. She might be able to use this thing for something else later. If she had not come here, what should she be doing at home? She wonders. First, she would take a nice hot bath, then probably cook something fancy to lift her mood. When she calms down, she would have watched some TV, then fallen asleep while chattering with her friends, and once she recharges, she would start hunting for a job. But in reality, she is here. Mizuki is probably worried about her. She should have at least told her before she left. Even if someone reported her missing, no one would ever find her, and no one would think to search inside a shoe locker. This makes her really sad. Finally, the sky becomes clear. Humans really are contradictory creatures. Even in a situation like this, she can still feel cold and hungry. For now, she has secured drinking water. Next, she needs to build a shelter. She cannot let another rainstorm put out her hard-earned fire again. But these berries, she bets they would have been sweet and tasty if she made jam out of them. She slaps herself, thinking that she needs to focus on building her shelter right now. Anyway, she has to survive here, and so the survival days pass since she ends up on this island. She builds a place to sleep and explores every corner of this island, but there is not even a trace of people or any living creature, nor wild animals, not even insects that usually thrive in humid places. She does not have any medicine, so she feels relieved that there are no bugs to bite her so far. She has only checked this side of this beach and the nearby forest. Today, she plans to check out the forest on the opposite side. Hopefully, she will find something different over there, but as she walks, her foot trips on the mud and she falls to the ground. She wonders what this is, something wrapped around her leg, so the ground here is just mud. She gets up, wondering if all the places she has walked through could lead into the mud, but suddenly something strikes her mind. If she makes a fire and hardens the soil, she should be able to come up with proper building materials. She gets up, wondering if all the places she had to fall into the mud, but suddenly something strikes her again. If she makes a fire and hardens the soil, she should be able to come up with proper building material. She can build a better shelter than just a roof bed, and she will make walls out of soil. Finally, she thinks she has moved enough for now, time for a little break. Suddenly, she sees a rainbow. She ends up in another strange place again. Well, she realizes it is better than the muddy beach now that she stands here. She thinks the weather is especially nice today. She is not sure if this is really the dying world Nemo talked about, but what she does know is that her own life is definitely falling apart. This makes her wonder if she can release her wife here alone. It has been more than a few days, and she looks in terrible condition. It is her turn now. Since Yujong came here, she has begun to adapt to the island. Contrary to her worries, the sea is full of fish. Perhaps they are simply not very cautious. Even tossing an empty basket into the water makes them gather easily. She only has to pull it up to catch fish. It almost feels like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But that does not mean she can stay here forever. While securing food and fixing up the shelter, she begins building a boat to escape this island. One day, she is eating fish. As she lies on the ground looking at the stars, she thinks that the night sky is beautiful again today. This truly is a strange place. There are no animals, yet the sea is full of fish. One moment, a rainbow appears with strange colors, and the next, a golden cloud glows neither star nor moon. The scenery is beautiful, and the fish are easy to catch, but still, she does not want to stay here forever. She wants to finish the boat and escape as soon as possible. She wishes someone would come rescue her. If this continues, she feels she might really lose herself. It has been about 200 days since she started living on this island. She once thought she would grow bored without people or entertainment, but time has passed quickly. Preparing for the voyage requires an unimaginable amount of effort. She has to fish almost every day to build up food stores. She even makes jars to preserve processed fish and salted berries. She experiments with salted fish using distilled water and salt as well. The moment she takes a bite, she realizes the result is a huge success. The fermented salted seafood becomes a versatile ingredient during her time on the island. After that, she focuses solely on building the boat in order to get out of this place as quickly as possible. She keeps moving, climbing to high places to identify the direction where land might exist. It must be somewhere beneath that rainbow. Finally, even the boat is ready. She stands there, thinking, because she has remained constantly busy, her hair has turned an odd, creamy color, and her skin is completely sunburned. Yet, since she is the only one on this island, even that surprise quickly fades. She does not even open her eyes fully when she wakes, nor does she make a sound. Her emotions stay buried, unmoving, without so much as a twitch of her brow. There is no need to express feelings in a place where no one else exists. She has grown used to life on this island, but the loneliness has been growing stronger little by little. She simply wants to see anyone. She feels that she could even forgive the one who abandoned her in this empty place. Still, she keeps pushing forward without giving up. And now, today, at last, she is leaving this island. Looking at it like this, it feels somewhat emotional. She has only spent about a year here, yet she has left so many traces of her existence. Even though she was the only one living here, the island now holds proof that she once survived upon it. Honestly, she is afraid. Is it truly okay to set sail without hesitation? What if a storm strikes? But the future where she remains here, growing old and eventually dying alone, frightens her even more. She is completely done with this kind of life. That is why today is the perfect day to escape, though it fills her with overwhelming emotion. At last, the voyage begins. She bids farewell to the deserted island. It is nighttime, and the sky is pouring with rain. This makes her realize that life never truly goes the way one wants it to. The voyage has been peaceful for about 10 days. The biggest issue she faces is breaking her second bottle of stored distilled water. At that moment, it still seems manageable until she runs into a violent rainstorm. Now, under a sky that pours endlessly, everything is no longer fine. The heavy rain begins to arrive in weekly cycles, just like this one. There are moments when the ship nearly overturns, battered by winds and waves that look ready to swallow it whole. In such situations, there is nothing she can do except cling tightly to the cabin walls and endure. Yu-jong understands that she might die out here. Yet, if she can survive this, she will be able to collect a massive amount of water. For a while, at least, she will not have to worry about drinking water. When the storm weakens enough for her to move, she inspects the ship. One side is badly damaged, and part of it has been swept away. The sight makes her sigh deeply. She is exhausted and hungry. For a moment, she wonders whether she should eat something before attempting to repair the boat. Finally, she opens one of the storage compartments. The variety of dishes available on a small boat is extremely limited. All she has are dried fish, salted seafood, and pickled food she brought from the deserted island. She pauses, then opens the compartment again, as if hoping something might have changed. But it has not. Still, in a place like this, it feels like a magnificent meal. She takes a piece of fish and begins to eat. Yet she cannot even taste it. The realization unsettles her. It makes her think about how much she longs for a properly prepared meal, something warm, something real. She wonders when she will finally reach land. Will there be people there? And even if it is not him, she thinks she would be happy just to see any human being right now. Then a name surfaces in her mind: Nemo. It is a name she has not thought of in a very long time. He is the reason, or perhaps the catalyst, for her being stranded on that deserted island. What he did is something she could never forget, even if she wanted to. That is why it surprises her that she had not thought of him even once during her time on the island. And yet now, in the middle of this endless sea, his memory returns. For all his talk about the world ending soon, she wonders where he is now and what he is doing. The world Yu-jong sees while drifting is nothing but peaceful. It makes her wonder, did he lie to her, or did something change simply because she came here? If the island had been peaceful because of her presence, then she would have begged him to send her back to where she truly belonged. But there is no time to dwell on that now. The damage to the boat is worse than she thought. If another heavy rain pours down like before, it will become a complete disaster. She is utterly exhausted. Through the blur of rain and fatigue, she looks ahead. Something appears in the distance. She wonders if it is an island. It is getting closer, though she had not even noticed while struggling against the storm. At this speed, she might arrive by tomorrow. And if she does, she might finally meet people again. If things go well, she might even find information about Nemo, about the Sun Forest, and about everything she still does not understand. But then, suddenly, something feels wrong. She looks up. What is this? Is it raining again? Without warning, a sudden downpour crashes over her. The rain begins to pour heavily, merciless and cold. She is so close now, so close that she cannot accept ending like this. Not here. Not like this. Tears begin to fall as she cries helplessly. Then, through blurred vision, she sees something massive in the distance, large ships cutting through the water. Hope surges within her. She gathers what strength she has left and begins to call out for help. Again and again, she cries, begging for someone, anyone to hear her. She pleads for them to take her with them. But there is no response. Despair grips her heart, and her voice breaks as she continues to cry. Then a voice. Someone calls out, asking if she is still alive. Another voice follows, pointing toward her raft, saying that it looks like she is alive. Someone wonders aloud if she is alone, if there is no one else with her. Her heart pounds as she listens. Another voice shouts that they are going to fire a harpoon to secure her, telling her to watch out. Moments later, she is pulled closer, her fragile raft drawn toward the massive ship. With trembling strength, she climbs aboard. As her feet touch the deck, she looks around in a daze. Something feels strange. Are those animal ears? One of them remarks that she looks like a complete wreck, though healthy enough. Another voice welcomes her aboard the burning dolphin. Then someone steps forward and introduces herself as the captain. Her name is Wispy. For a moment, Yu-jong simply stares, trying to process everything. Then, finally, she gathers herself. She introduces herself in return. Yu-jong stands frozen at the center of the unfamiliar deck, her mind struggling to process the strange sight before her. The people surrounding her are unlike any she has ever seen, each of them bearing distinct animal ears atop their heads, some even possessing tails that sway or flick behind them. The details are too vivid, too natural to be costumes. A quiet, unsettling question forms in her thoughts. What exactly are these people, and could they possibly be real? Before she can gather herself, one of them dismisses her presence with a scoff, referring to her as nothing more than a frog. The word echoes in her mind, confusing and humiliating all at once. She cannot help but wonder if they are seriously calling her that, or if she has misunderstood something in this bizarre situation. The tension escalates when another figure steps forward, his presence commanding and cold. Without hesitation, he declares that a frog has no place on his ship and orders that she be thrown overboard immediately. The words strike with terrifying finality, sending a chill through Yu-jong's already weakened body. However, Wispy intervenes at once, her voice cutting through the harsh command with firm disapproval. She challenges the order, questioning whether he truly intends to commit murder. The accusation hangs heavy in the air, but the man remains unmoved, arguing that they could simply return Yu-jong to the drifting raft she came from and send her away. Wispy refuses to accept such reasoning. She points out the obvious: the raft is severely damaged, pierced through with a harpoon. There is no realistic chance it would carry Yu-jong safely anywhere. Sending her back out to sea in such a condition would be no different from sentencing her to death. Despite this, the man stubbornly insists that the raft could be repaired, clinging to his decision. Wispy steps in, unable to remain silent any longer. She urges him to stop and truly look at Yu-jong. Her frail state is undeniable. Her body is little more than skin and bones, her clothing barely clinging to her. It is clear she has not been drifting for merely a day or two. The memory of Yu-jong's tearful expression when she first stepped onto the ship lingers in Wispy's mind, making the thought of abandoning her even more unbearable. As the argument continues, another voice joins in, supporting Wispy. Even if humans are generally troublesome, the situation feels morally wrong. There is also the uncertainty of the weather. Rain could begin pouring again at any moment, further endangering her life. The growing support gradually shifts the atmosphere aboard the ship. At last, Knox relents, though not without making his stance clear. He agrees to let Yu-jong stay, but only for Wispy's sake. His warning is sharp and unmistakable: if Yu-jong attempts anything suspicious or deceitful, he will not hesitate to kill her. To him, she remains an unsettling presence, someone who smells unpleasant and appears eerie. With the conflict momentarily resolved, Wispy turns her attention back to Yu-jong. She explains that the man who left is the ship's vice captain, a figure of authority whose temperament is not easily softened. Without lingering on the tension, she begins issuing orders to the crew. The damaged raft is to be cleaned up, and the helmsman is to be informed once the task is complete. The ship will resume its original course without delay. Only after ensuring everything is in motion does Wispy refocus on Yu-jong. For the time being, she decides to show her around the ship and assign her a cabin. She also makes arrangements for food, offering Yu-jong the choice to rest or eat depending on her condition. Yet before any of that, there is something she insists must be done first. Yu-jong, eager to prove herself useful despite her confusion and exhaustion, immediately expresses her willingness to work hard. However, Wispy's request is far simpler and far more necessary. Yu-jong must wash herself, as she smells absolutely terrible. After being guided to the bathing area, Yu-jong finds herself once again caught off guard. She had not expected much, especially not aboard a ship, yet the presence of a proper bath surprises her. The supplies provided are modest and far from the modern standards she once knew, but to her, they feel nothing short of luxurious. The warmth of the water and the simple act of cleaning herself bring a sense of comfort she has not felt in a long time. When she changes into the clothes provided, she notices an unusual detail: a hole in the back of the pants, clearly meant to accommodate a tail. Yu-jong studies her reflection in silence, her gaze lingering longer than usual as she takes in every unfamiliar detail. She already knows that her hair and skin color have changed significantly, yet this is the first time she has examined herself so closely. The sight feels deeply strange, almost as if she is looking at someone else entirely. The girl staring back at her no longer resembles who she used to be. Her once milky-colored hair has grown long enough to reach her waist, and her skin, once a darker shade like a coffee bun, now appears different. Though she has gained a bit of muscle here and there, it is impossible to ignore how much weight she has lost. Her thoughts drift back to what she has learned so far. The captain has introduced herself as the leader of the ship called the Burning Dolphin, and it is thanks to her that Yu Zhang was rescued. Even so, questions continue to swirl in her mind. The people aboard this ship all have animal ears and tails, features that clearly set them apart from humans like her. If they are not human, then what are they? And more importantly, why had that man Nox been so openly hostile toward her? Despite everything, Yu Zhang clings to a simple, earnest desire. She has finally found other people after so long, and the last thing she wants is to be hated. Gathering her courage, she steps out and calls for Wispy. Wispy notices her immediately and asks if she has finished washing. Yu Zhang expresses that she wants to talk, prompting Wispy to gesture for her to follow. Since Yu Zhang must be hungry, it would be best to talk over a meal. Soon, the two of them are seated together. As Yu Zhang looks around, she notices something unsettling. Although the crew members appear to be minding their own business, their ears are subtly twitching in her direction. The realization makes her nervous, as if she is being watched without anyone actually looking at her. Wispy begins to speak, attempting to ease into conversation, but Yu Zhang suddenly apologizes, her tension spilling over. Wispy gently reassures her that there is no need to be so nervous. She simply wants to clear up a few curiosities. Yu Zhang must be wondering what kind of ship this is, just as the crew is wondering what kind of human she might be. From their perspective, she could be anything, even someone dangerous, like a murderer fleeing after committing a crime. With that in mind, Wispy asks her to explain why she was drifting out at sea. Yu Zhang falls silent. Inside her mind, thoughts collide in a storm of uncertainty. How can she possibly explain what happened? To tell the truth, she would have to describe the deserted island, and beyond that, the fact that she came from another dimension. But such a story would only make her sound suspicious, perhaps even insane. She has finally found people she cannot risk being feared or rejected. Carefully, she weighs her options. How much is safe to reveal? Perhaps she should test the waters first. With hesitation, she asks a question of her own, something indirect, something that might gauge Wispy's reaction. But the moment the words leave her mouth, she realizes her mistake. She blurts it out too abruptly, too strangely, and immediately regrets not choosing her words more carefully. Wispy responds with confusion, admitting that she has never heard anything like that before. Yu Zhang's heart sinks. She feels certain she has ruined everything. If it has come to this, then there is no point holding back. It is all or nothing. Summoning what little resolve she has left, she asks Wispy what she thinks about interdimensional travel. Wispy replies honestly that she has never given it any thought. That answer, simple as it is, pushes Yu Zhang to finally speak the truth. She confesses that she came from another world. Wispy questions her further, asking why she came here. Yu Zhang hesitates for only a moment before answering that she was asked to save this world. When asked who gave her such a task, Yu Zhang's mind races. She cannot risk revealing anything about the Sun Forest or Nemo. She cannot allow any harm to come to him. So instead, she gives a vague answer, claiming it was a voice. Wispy rises from her seat, her expression difficult to read. From her perspective, Yu Zhang's story sounds completely unbelievable. Still, she does not sense any danger from her. Concluding that Yu Zhang is harmless, if somewhat unbalanced, she decides to simply assign her suitable work. Yu Zhang immediately understands how she is being perceived. She has been labeled as a completely crazy person. With the attention shifting away from her, hunger begins to take over. It is the first time since arriving in this world that she truly feels it. Curious, she lifts a spoonful of soup, wondering what food in this place tastes like. The moment it touches her tongue, she recoils and spits it out. The soup tastes like dirt. A flicker of disbelief crosses her face. People actually eat this? As a chef, she cannot accept such a thing. There is no way she can let this slide. If nothing else, she will fix the food of this world. From that moment on, a new determination takes root within her. On the 5th morning since boarding the Burning Dolphin, Yu Zhang wakes early. She greets one of the crew members with a cheerful good morning, and even the quiet man nearby returns the greeting. Despite Wispy labeling her as strange, the crew has accepted her more gently than she expected. Encouraged, she attempts to greet Nox as well. However, the moment she does, he cuts her off harshly, telling her to be quiet and once again calling her a frog. It is clear that, among everyone on the ship, he alone still refuses to think well of her. Even so, Yu Zhang does not let it weigh her down too much. There are people here, voices everywhere. If she closes her eyes, she can almost feel their presence through the walls, the soft hum of life surrounding her. It is a stark contrast to the lonely days she spent hearing nothing but the endless sound of waves. She approaches Alter and greets him as well. He responds with a simple good morning before immediately putting her to work. Now that she is here, she is to start by peeling potatoes. Yu-jong accepts the task without complaint. Alter is the chef of the ship, and under his supervision, she has begun working in the kitchen. It has only been 5 days since she boarded the burning dolphin, yet she is already settling into a routine. For now, she remains nothing more than an assistant chef, not yet trusted to handle the main dishes, but even so, it is a start. Alter informs Yu-jong that the potatoes before her are the last of what they have managed to gather, instructing her to peel them all and move them over. As she works, she calls out to him, suggesting that if the soup turns out poorly, she could prepare another dish instead. However, he immediately refuses the idea, questioning whether she intends to let Nox starve. She is well aware that Nox would not touch the potato soup if he knew that her hands had been involved in its preparation. After a moment of hesitation, Yu-jong finally gathers the courage to ask why Nox seems to hate her so much. Alter responds that it is not exactly hatred directed at her personally, but rather a general disdain for humans. This answer prompts her to wonder if there is truly any difference between the two. She recalls how Nox had insulted her, though Alter pays no mind to that remark. Still, she insists that she has reminded him countless times to remove the fish bones carefully before adding them in. Alter questions what exactly Nox had said that could be considered an insult. Yu-jong explains that Nox had simply told her to be quiet and referred to her as a frog. The nickname leaves her puzzled, as she cannot understand why he would choose such a comparison. When she asks, Alter bluntly replies that it is because she looks like one. This only deepens her confusion, prompting her to ask which part of her resembles a frog. Alter explains that she lacks ears like theirs and does not have a tail either. Yu-jong reflects that, for them, emotions are expressed through the movement of their ears and tails, whereas humans do not possess such features. Because of this, they cannot easily tell what she is feeling or whether she is even engaged in the conversation. To them, it feels as though she speaks without expression, something that unsettles them and sends a chill down their spines. Hearing this, Yu-jong grows deeply saddened, on the verge of tears as she wonders if she truly appears that strange and unsettling to others. Alter quickly clarifies that it is not quite that extreme. He acknowledges that she is a good person and that being human is simply something beyond her control. He further reassures her that the other crew members do not hate her either, explaining that he only wanted her to understand the reason behind Nox's behavior. Yu-jong accepts his explanation and quietly continues her work, though her earlier cheer has noticeably faded. Noticing her subdued demeanor, Alter calls out to her and remarks that she seems to enjoy cooking. He then offers her a small allowance if she uses only enough ingredients for a single serving. She may prepare whatever dish she likes. However, he warns her that if she causes any trouble in the kitchen, she will be banned from entering it altogether. At this, Yu-jong immediately assures him that she will be careful, promising to clean and organize everything once she is done. At that moment, Wispy enters, her presence lively as ever, and asks what is going on, noting the sudden shift in atmosphere. Yu-jong eagerly shares that Alter has given her permission to cook a dish of her choice. Wispy finds this surprising, recalling how Alter had previously complained about Yu-jong constantly pestering him to let her cook. He had even remarked that he felt as though he were being torn apart, caught in the middle between her persistence and Nox's disapproval. Alter remarks that he had not phrased it quite the way Wispy described. Wispy, however, expresses her curiosity about what Yu-jong is going to make, then casually asks if she would mind preparing 2 servings and bringing them to the captain's headquarters as well. Without hesitation, Yu-jong turns to Alter to ask if that would be acceptable. He responds that she may do as she pleases, reasoning that he has little choice if the request comes from the captain. With that, he entrusts the matter to her, while Wispy heads off toward the quarters. Yu-jong confidently assures them both to leave everything in her hands. Left alone with her thoughts, Yu-jong begins to consider what she should prepare. She carefully weighs her options, knowing she cannot afford to use expensive ingredients. Instead, she decides to rely on the most common resources available on the ship. Seafood, being easily caught from the sea, becomes her primary choice. Most of the ship's supplies consist of dried or salted meats and vegetables, preserved for long voyages. To her surprise, she has noticed a few fresh vegetables in the storage area, though without refrigeration they are maintained as potted plants rather than harvested produce. There are many dishes she wishes she could create, yet the limitations of the ingredients narrow her possibilities. After some thought, she settles on preparing a seafood stir-fry. For the main ingredient, she retrieves a fresh cod that had been caught at dawn and proceeds to clean and fillet it. Alongside it, she prepares shrimp and clams, ensuring everything is properly handled. Once ready, she pats the seafood dry and seasons it lightly with salt. She then gathers a tomato and an onion grown from the potted plants and prepares a blend of spices to finish the dish. Since there is no oil available for frying, she improvises by cutting the fattiest portion from some salted pork, intending to render its fat into lard. With all preparations complete, she places a pot over the brazier and slowly melts the pork fat, taking care to control the heat so it does not burn. Once the lard is ready, she adds garlic and onions, sautéing them until their aroma fills the air. When the flavors of the vegetables and herbs have infused into the oil, she adds the bite-sized pieces of cod along with the shrimp and clams, stir-frying them quickly over high heat. Finally, she incorporates finely chopped tomatoes, cooking them just long enough to release their flavor before finishing the dish with a sprinkle of spices. With that, the seafood stir-fry cooked in pork fat is complete. As the rich scent rises from the dish, Yu Zhong feels a wave of emotion wash over her. The aroma alone feels almost unreal to her, and the thought of finally tasting something resembling proper food fills her with anticipation. Carrying the dish, she makes her way to the captain's quarters and knocks on the door, announcing her presence to Wispy. Wispy quickly invites her inside, explaining that she had skipped lunch in anticipation of tasting Yu Zhong's cooking and is now quite hungry. The moment she sees the dish, she is taken aback, having never encountered anything like it on the ship. The aroma alone is enough to amaze her, and the presentation looks unlike anything she has seen before. Before they begin, Wispy pauses and clears the desk, making space for them to eat. At last, the two of them sit down and begin tasting the food. As Wispy takes her first bite, she suddenly falls silent. This reaction immediately causes Yu Zhong to grow anxious, wondering if something is wrong. She questions whether the dish has failed, whether the ingredients were not stir-fried properly, or whether her cooking simply does not suit Wispy's taste. Unable to read her reaction, Yu Zhong feels uncertain, though her hunger pushes her to take a bite herself. The moment she does, the texture surprises her. The surface of the seafood is cooked to perfection, almost as if it had been deep-fried in pork fat, creating a delicate crispness. Beneath that, the flesh remains tender and springy, as though bursting with flavor. The broth-like juices infused with garlic and vegetables explode in her mouth, blending seamlessly with the richness of the meat. The flavors of shrimp and pork combine harmoniously, releasing a deep, savory umami with every bite. It is undeniably delicious. She cannot even recall how long it has been since she last tasted something with such depth of flavor. Wispy suddenly breaks her silence, exclaiming in amazement that Yu Zhong is a genius. She excitedly demands to know what she has done to the shrimp and how she achieved such a texture, insisting that she has never tasted anything like it before. To her, the dish is extraordinary, so much so that she finds herself unable to fully put the experience into words. Yu Zhong, relieved and pleased, tells her that she will gladly make it again for her in the future. Hearing this, Wispy's excitement only grows as she declares that she has come up with a brilliant idea. From that day onward, she proclaims that Yu Zhong should become the chef of the ship. This sudden declaration leaves Yu Zhong completely taken aback. Wispy expresses that she is counting on Yu Zhong and believes that she will handle the responsibility well. She remarks that, after all, Yu Zhong herself had wanted to cook. Despite this encouragement, Yu Zhong hesitates. She admits that she does not wish to take away Altair's role, feeling reluctant to intrude on what she assumes is his responsibility. At the same time, she cannot help but worry about Nox, who would not even consider touching any food she prepares. Wispy dismisses these concerns with ease, explaining that before becoming the head chef, Altair had originally been responsible for maintaining the ship. From her perspective, there is more than enough work aboard the vessel for everyone, and there is no need for Yu Zhong to feel guilty or hesitant. As for Nox, Wispy brushes him off rather bluntly, suggesting that he can continue eating Altair's bland, carpet-like soup if he refuses to try anything else. With that said, she presses Yu Zhong once more, asking whether she is willing to accept the position. Left with little room to refuse and no better alternative, Yu Zhong ultimately agrees. Wispy then abruptly shifts her demeanor, lightly chiding herself for losing track of her thoughts. She recalls that she had originally summoned Yu Zhong to the captain's headquarters for an entirely different reason, yet managed to forget it in the midst of their discussion. This piques Yu Zhong's curiosity, prompting her to wonder what it was that Wispy had intended to tell her. Regaining her focus, Wispy explains that it is time for Yu Zhong to understand the current condition of the Burning Dolphin, as well as their upcoming schedule. She begins with an important detail, informing her in advance that she will have to disembark at Garan, a trading city they are expected to reach in approximately 20 days. This revelation catches Yu Zhong off guard. The realization that she must leave the ship so soon unsettles her, forcing her to confront the fact that her time aboard the Burning Dolphin is limited. Wispy, too, expresses a hint of regret. She admits that it saddens her to think she will only be able to enjoy Yuzhong's cooking for another 20 days. Nevertheless, she explains that the crew must sell the cargo they are transporting before returning to their homeland, a place where humans are strictly forbidden. She further clarifies that Garan is a city inhabited entirely by individuals like Nox. Although the crew, including Wispy herself, has grown accustomed to humans through their trading ventures, the general population does not share that tolerance. In fact, most of them harbor a strong dislike for what they call tailless ones, making it impossible for Yuzhong to accompany them any further beyond that point. She questions whether this place called Jirana is truly somewhere a person like her is allowed to enter. Wispy responds that of course it is, explaining that it is a trading city and also a territory inhabited by humans like her. Wispy gestures toward the map, pointing out its location and explaining that it lies at the easternmost edge among the trading cities. It is also known as a place where adventurers frequently gather. However, Yuzhong finds herself unable to read a single word on the map. Although she can understand and speak the language, the written script remains completely foreign to her. She then points to a blank spot on the map and asks about it, noting how every other area is filled with writing while that particular region remains empty. Wispy, puzzled, questions whether Yuzhong truly cannot read and wonders if she genuinely comes from another world. Internally, both Yuzhong and Danny reflect that she had already explained her origins before.